Righty, we are good to go. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. We will keep it nice and brief this afternoon, about 15 or so minutes, but we're going to do a drill breakdown on catching today. Okay, so this is a really good chance to further on from what Fitzy took you guys through yesterday, just as a little challenge. But what I want to talk about is, in our training, why we actually do drills, how to go about them the best way to get the best out of yourself, and actually give you a couple of examples specifically for our catching and for our fielding. It's something that we probably don't train too often, or we don't go to the nets at club cricket and think I'm going to work on my catching for 20 minutes, half an hour. But now's a really good time, especially in lockdown, to be able to work on that and try things out, whether that's, as I said, in the backyard or at the park, maybe with a dad or a mate or a brother or a sibling, whatever it may be. So what I want to firstly discuss is why we actually go through drills at training and what makes a good drill, what is actually involved to be able to get the best out of yourselves, because it's not something us coaches just do and throw all the players into for no reason. There's a lot of thinking behind it. There's a lot of theory behind it, and it's actually going to help you get the best out of yourself if you can understand why we do it and when we need to implement these things. So if you have a look through the pyramid and take notes as we go along, have a think about what this means to you. So the first point is we want team-oriented learning. So when we are in drills, we're all together, working together, because you want to be able to become a quality training partner. You want to be a good teammate and be a part of that team aspect of cricket. Cricket's a game that can often be a bit misguided. We can just think about ourselves and think about our own performance and the individual side of the game, which is important and we need to, but we also need to be a part of a team and be able to work together and problem solve together, put ourselves in different situations. Doing team-oriented drills and working with partners or with multiple players can help you get better, as a side, also as an individual, to be able to work together. So that's the first point. Moving up the pyramid, it's a controlled environment, okay? So we want to train with specificity to whatever we're doing. We want to be able to make sure that, okay, if I'm going to go out in the game, or if I had a game on the weekend and I struggled with my fielding towards the final stages of the game when it was really tense, we can actually go into training and recreate that scenario with a drill. We can make sure that we can test out that skill set and be really specific around it. A lot of our training is sometimes too general, or players will think, I want to get better with my fielding, but we've got to think, okay, what actual part of your fielding? Was it hitting down one stump when the pressure was on? Was it holding that catch with a really, really tough chance? Whatever it may be, you can actually create a controlled environment with a drill to make sure that you're getting the best out of yourself and it's actually relevant to a game and what you're doing there. My third point, going up the pyramid again, is instant feedback. So essentially, if you're in a drill, you're going to know straight away if what you're doing is working or if it actually needs attention. So is my catching? Am I catching the ball, or am I having a bit of trouble with it and it doesn't need work? If you're trying to hit the ball in between the gates, it's going to be pretty obvious if you can get it through those gates or not, and if what you're doing is working. Okay, so keep that in mind. Because it can tell you straight away, look, my throw probably needs to be just a little bit higher. You're going to be able to see instantly, and you don't even need a coach there to tell you that. You can see it for yourself. Number 4 is having realistic situations with whatever you're doing. So training can often become a bit general and a bit basic again, but we're not thinking about what part of the game we're actually training. So make it applicable to your situation and put yourself under a little bit of pressure. So create a realistic situation, make it game-like. We want our drills to be able to emulate a match and the feelings and the emotions we go through in that game. So a really good way to do that is to challenge a partner, or make sure that, the first one who misses the catch is out, whatever it may be. You want to make sure they're realistic situations to what you're actually going to face in a game. That's one of the main reasons we do drills. And leading onto the last point, the tip of the pyramid, and probably what drill work is all about, what we need to be striving for is to progress ourselves. So to actually further our skill set, make sure we're constantly improving and challenging ourselves to keep learning and keep getting the best out of ourselves, making things harder for ourselves to progress our skills and really go on from there, okay? So now that we know a bit more about why we actually do drills and what they involve, I'm going to take you through an example of a drill as we click on. This is from the ACI's online academy, so we've got a whole database full of them, but there are 3 or 4 really good examples of fielding drills and catching drills in particular that you can have a look at in your own time and think about, all right, what are the basic concepts I need to do? So we'll go through these now. Sharing my screen so we'll be able to share this video. And all the while, I want you to have a think about the 3 main points that are discussed during this video. So we've got Chris Lynn here, and he's going to be discussing catching basics, catching concepts. What are the 3 most important things? Have a think about it, and we'll quickly review when we get back. Maybe put it in the chat box below.
So a couple of key points to catching. You've got your strong base through your legs. You've got to have good balance through that, and then obviously tracking the ball right into your hand. Three simple points, but it's very effective. What we're going to do now is just run through a couple of drills, very basic, off the knickerboard, a nice close reflex catch, and then we'll move back a couple of cones, and we'll get a nice track of the ball into our hands. When you're fielding, we like to call this the perfect circle. Basically, what that means is anything within arm's reach, you should be able to catch. And vice versa when you're throwing. When you're throwing the ball to the wicketkeeper, everything in that circle, that's your target. So here we've got a couple of reflex catches off the knickerboard. Let's see how we go. So just tracking the ball. Down she goes.
Got him.
Tracking the ball, nice and easy. Hands out in front. One of the key pointers to this is keeping your head nice and still. With that, your eyes will be level and you get a lot clearer look at the ball.
So that's our first example of a really basic drill. The more basic you can keep it to start with, the better it's going to be, or the easier it's going to be for you to start and to progress from there. So as you can see, Linny starts off with a really simple drill. It's just about getting a little bit of catching volume in with whatever he's doing. And now he begins to progress it, okay? So keep having a look through.
Moving back.
Making
okay.
things
so same rules apply. We've got our perfect circle, so I'm expecting to catch everything that's within reach. Nice soft hands, tracking the ball in.
You can see it's just becoming a bit more realistic to what a catch off the bat will actually be like in a match.
You might notice on the side there how I'm meeting the ball, trying to get my hands out nice in front, try and catch it at least eye level down. Two hands for beginners. Okay, so once again, we're just extending the length of catch here. Same rules apply, head still, catching out in front, and we're tracking the ball in the last 6 inches. Really being in control of the ball at all times.
Catch.
Microphone. So there we go. We're just watching the ball at all times. Make sure you're completing the catch before you're releasing the ball.
Fantastic. So that's the first drill he's spoken through. Now in the chat box below, I just want you to mention or maybe send through, what do you think are some of those 3 main points and 3 main concepts that Linny mentioned throughout the drill and throughout the video that relate back to your catching? Okay, it's important to understand here that everyone's technique is probably going to be a little bit different, especially wicket keepers, you can say, but people are going to have their own way of going about it. Similar to Ian Renshaw's discussion last night, he mentioned you've got to be able to find your own way to do these things. Catching the ball, it seems simple enough, taking in the hands, but there are a few fundamentals that apply across the board that you need to be able to know and that you need to be able to train, because they're going to help you with the consistency and to be able to continually execute that skill and take the catch at the end of the day. So let's have a look at some of the comments. Beautiful. We've got a really good one there. Watching the ball at all times from Jaden. Simple one, really simple one. But at the start of the video, Linny mentions, number one, tracking the ball. Okay, so tracking the ball and being able to watch it as close as you can. Never take your eyes off the thing. And what he actually mentions is to be able to do that, you need to keep your head still. Okay, so your head needs to be still. That's our first point. If your head is still, your eyes are still, and it's going to be so much easier for you to track that ball, be able to find the ball, and then go from there, and your instinct will take over. So it's a really good start from Jaden, watching the ball at all times. Number one, tracking that ball through a still head. Josh has been on point there as well, keeping your eyes level. Is it all about the head and the top half? Maybe it's also about the way you stand. Has anyone got that in there? Stable base, Hamish McInnes. Well done, mate. Fantastic point. So having a stable base is essential. If you're not comfortable in the way you're standing out there in the field, it's going to be hard for you to move around, to get around, to even take those balls in that perfect circle, as you mentioned. So you want a strong base. Your legs need to be nice and stable. And the way you can tell if you are is if you feel really balanced. If you feel off balance, you need to think about what your base is and maybe widen your stance from there a little bit. Take your feet further apart. Maybe you need to be a bit lower. You don't want to be bending down and crouching down. You want to be bent from the knees so you can stay nice and low to the ground. But as long as it feels stable for you and you're balanced, Hayden said, get in a comfortable position. That's what it's all about, okay? And as Nazir has mentioned, you want to be agile and be able to get around, okay? So that's a fantastic point. That's number two, all right? So strong base by being nice and balanced. Number three, Linny mentioned his perfect circle, okay? So you should really be able to take any ball within this range. Both hands can reach out, can stretch through there. And as you see, he only really dropped one early on. But the way you can take those balls in that perfect circle is by having a bit of give and having soft hands when you do catch the ball. So when we try and snatch, or a lot of players will try and take the ball a bit further away from them, or it can be a scary thing with that ball flying at you, especially if someone hits it hard. You're starting to make your way through the age groups and through the grades. The ball's going to get hit harder and harder, but you can always take it by having those soft hands, okay? So letting the ball come to you and to that circle. If you're really focused with your eyes, nice and still in a good position, you're going to be in a much better position to be able to take that ball and to be able to execute that skill. So really good discussion there, guys. Good points and thinking about it, sending through. Now we're just going to have a look through how Linny, one of the best professional T20 players in the world, who's got his fielding down pat, is very reliable, how he actually goes about mixing things up now and making his training a little bit more difficult so that he can progress and always be getting better at the catching, okay? Which seems like a basic skill, but as I said, it's not something we always train. It's not something we always think about. Let's see how Linny goes about it and see any other drills he's got for us. So this is reflex and decision making, and he's giving himself much less time to react to the ball. Oh, it's a good catch. So this is quite an advanced drill, and it's also testing out his stable base and a bit of fitness. Got the square challenge here as well. Let's watch his head, see how still his head is. Always tracking the ball. Oi. This is a goalkeeper drill. This is really good to do one-on-one with a teammate and test each other out. Can you actually get that ball through the goals? Will the fielder stop it? Stable base, still head, soft hands when it gets to him. Oi, got him.
So basically we've got short threes here. A very good drill.
Okay, so we'll leave it there and start to move on. But those are 4 really good drills you can try at home, and remembering those 3 keys or 3 fundamentals: stable base, still head, soft hands, letting it come into that perfect circle. Okay. Moving on now and discussing why we should actually do drills and when to do drills. Okay, so if you listen to Peter Fulton the other night, or Ian Renshaw, a few of the guests have come on and spoken about having a structured training environment, so doing drills and going through drill work versus having an unstructured training environment. And it's important to understand, all right, we don't have to do drills 100% of the time. We also need to mix them up and go through different drills and look for different outcomes. So one thing that actually stood out to me, I was watching the Amazon series of the Australian cricket team recently, and they were on tour in Dubai, and Justin Langer took them through training before a pretty big test series for Australia, which we knew was going to be a challenge. And Langer spoke about having a structured start to the session. So on the first day of training of a 2-day training series, they went through a really structured environment. It was test specific and test focused. And on the second day, the players had a bit more freedom. So they can decide what they want to be able to work on, or have the freedom to be able to try new things, try different types of training, and just to be able to express themselves and keep building on their own game. And once you do get into a position where you're playing and you're comfortable with your skills and you know what you're really good at, it can be a good way to explore by doing, yes, your structured training, working on your drills, but also finding new ways and new things to work on. But it's a key training principle that just because you're doing a drill really well, so just because I can hit 100 balls, out of 110 into this one gap and one spot in the field, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate into the game or into performance. It may just mean you're super good at that skill and you can do it over and over again. But you need to be able to put yourself in a variety of situations, and you need to be able to become adaptable with whatever you're doing. Cricket's a game where you're going to be in different conditions almost every time you bat, or every time you bowl, or every time you're in the field. Things are going to change. So you need to be able to do that in your training so that can translate into a game as well. At the end of the day, as long as you're executing that skill in a variety of environments, that's going to help you succeed on the field and out there in a match, okay? Particularly with your catching, because there are so many different types of catching. You need to be able to do outfielding, infielding, reflex catching. There's a whole host of things to be able to work on. And now, as I said, now's a really good time to do that, okay? So I'm going to leave it up to you now. It's your turn, okay? If you want to access that video, it's actually on our YouTube site, as I mentioned. So search up for Australian Cricket Institute, and it's there with the best fielding drills to be able to do. So there were those 4 drills. Have a go at them, but think about, okay, first of all, I'm going to complete this drill. I'm going to go through this drill and make sure I can do it really comfortably. I can almost get 10 out of 10 catches if that's what I'm trying to do. And once you're really comfortable with that, the second thing you've got to be able to do is progress, okay? So now start to challenge yourself with a new environment. So if you're doing reflex catching, make that time shorter. If you're doing volume catching, you've got to get more catches in a row. Whatever it may be, look to progress yourself and reach and try and further yourself. Maybe if you're with a training partner, try and beat your training partner with whatever you're doing, but try and further yourself and progress your drills. Once you can start to do that, you're going to be able to be a bit more confident in catching, okay? In catching in general. You're going to feel a lot more confident, and hopefully that can translate to performance in a match. So that, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Can I actually do this in a game? If you've got an increased confidence, you're going to be much more likely to follow through with it. And there's really no better feeling than going into a game and thinking, okay, I've done all the work. I know I've worked myself really hard. I can just purely focus on what I need to, and that's having a good time, executing the skills, playing the game, giving my best, going as hard as I can. And there's really no better feeling than that. So do the hard work now, look to progress yourself, and hopefully that confidence starts to come into your game, and you can get more of an idea around, okay, well, what do I need to work on at training to be able to improve? So really good point there from Hamish. Catches win matches to finish. And as you see, this is Chris Lynn in the Pakistani Super League taking one of the all-time blinders. He took a really good catch on the boundary there and kept it in, and actually won the semi-final for his team. So it does pay off, but now's a really good time to do the hard work. So go out there, try the catching drills. Remember, you can access them on YouTube. I'll post the link on Facebook with the recording, but it's all there. And now's a really good time to think about, okay, how am I going to go about these drills and improve myself from there? So that'll do us for today. If you do have any questions about anything, shoot me an email. My address is just down there. But thanks for interacting, guys, and look forward to seeing a few of these results as we go along over the course of the week. Thank you so much. That'll do us for today. That'll be a wrap. Cheers, guys.